What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a preview. The last preview before probably the biggest game of the season, or probably the biggest game of the last, I don't know, 3 4 years, depending how you're looking at it. But first, we need to beat Empoli. Obviously, I think Allegri in his presser tried to avoid talking about Inter, which is a good thing because, again, Inter is next week. This is Empoli first, and then you just move on and you look at what potentially could happen next week. But injuries and players being fit, suspended, all those things, I think that doesn't really matter tomorrow because it's a new game. It's a game we obviously definitely need to win. I think that speaks for itself. But you cannot fumble the game tomorrow. Like you cannot go or you cannot prep that Inter game. Let's put it that way, with an L against Empoli, or even with a draw. Because if you draw tomorrow, if you should be drawing against Empoli tomorrow, that will feel like a defeat, especially if Inter win the next day, and then you need to go to the Miazza knowing in the back of your mind they have a game in hand. You didn't beat Empoli, and now you need to make up for it away to Inter. So you need to win, obviously, tomorrow, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to dive into Allegri's presser. We're going to dive into what he had to say, and we're going to dive into some Empoli stats, but it's going to be very basic because, well, I'll explain why I think it's going to be very basic. But first, Allegri, he talked about injuries and all those things. I'm kind of letting that wait until I do the preview, predicted lineup, excuse me, the expected lineup, because there are some updates as well. He talked about Keane again. Keane is out of the way. He's gone basically, probably Monday. But he talked about the game, and the game is what the most important thing tomorrow is. And in general, tomorrow for me personally, I think I think tomorrow is more tougher than Inter. And that might sound ridiculous, but that Inter game, like Allegri said, in so many times years ago, in the quote unquote good old days, he said the big games, and he always said that before the Champions League game when we played Real Madrid or Bayern or Barcelona, no matter who we played, if we play one of those big teams in Europe or just a big team, he said like these games are very easy to prepare because if you do not get up for these type of games, Inter, like those big games, then it's a big issue. Like these games are easy to prepare. It's the Empolis and all those games that you cannot really drop any points because you do not expect Inter to drop many points against those teams as well. When we won the league, we beat them all basically. Like the games we drop points, yes, you drop points against those smaller teams now and then. However, the games you drop points was the direct clashes, and you look at the other teams when they lost the title to us, they drop points against the lesser teams on a very regular basis, and that's why they didn't win basically. So tomorrow is a bit tougher, especially if you go into the game within the back of your mind. Next week we play Inter, like that should be completely secondary tomorrow. It's Empoli, it's just Empoli, and that's it. But yeah, what he had to say. He had to say we've worked on our limitations, which is interesting because he talked about it the first month. Like he mentioned that, I don't know, like 1,000 times, in like 5 6 press conferences. And we are in a good physical and mental shape, knowing, however, that tomorrow's match must be won. Empoli has changed the coach, and Nicola has started with a good victory, providing solidity. That's not correct. Matches are won on the field. Now Nicola, he came in and they they uh, they did win, and they did win quite easily against Monza. Monza are just an okay side, but to put them away 3-0 was quite impressive. I think Swarovski scored a hat trick, right? But like to put Monza away 3-0 as a new coach is significant. Like that's the definition of a new manager bounce. They're fighting relegation. I think they're like 18 or 19. They're fighting relegation, and I will show you how bad they are this season compared to last couple of seasons. However, Nicola is a artist because somehow he finds a way to keep teams up, or give them hope at least. And with that win against Monza, that's giving them hope, and that's what they're gonna like. They have nothing to lose. Like, I know they need to fight. They're fighting relegation, but they are not expecting to take a point away from Inter or Juve. Like, that's not what what's gonna keep them up in the league or not. It's what's gonna keep them up in the league is beating teams like Monza. So they have nothing to lose tomorrow. The pressure is on us. Like, we need to play on the front foot. Excuse me. Expect us to do that. But yeah, I think Allegri's right. Like, physically, mentally, I think this team is at its peak. They have limitations, but still, they figured a way out to bypass the limitations this squad have. I think the only way to improve is you actually beat Inter and you start flying and you're unstoppable. And you actually, like, you think you're unstoppable, you believe you're unstoppable, and you become unstoppable. That's the only thing you can add. Like, and that's for next week. Because physically the team is doing well, despite injuries. The team is moving well, in my opinion, the last couple of weeks. But yeah, let's move on. For the people joining, please like the video. Let's push to 50 likes for a preview now, and who's rewatching it. So hit that like button now. It does help out big time. Okay. Then he was asked about Inter. I actually was asked about Inter, I don't know, 5 times in a presser that, I don't know, was like 20 minutes long. He said it's not a matter, of a direct clash. Quite the opposite. Let's call it Inter-Juve. We shouldn't forget about Milan, who has the credentials to rejoin the Scudetto race. We need to focus only on ourselves. I repeat, we are happy to be there, and I want to keep going. Inter is very strong. It's a very strong team that earned a lot of points. Being close to them is a source of pride, and it doesn't mean we won't settle. We only have 2 points less than Inter, so he's doing him quite more justice than maybe he should be doing. The Milan one, I don't know, I think we're like 7 points off Milan. Yeah, like 7 points in the next, I don't know how many games. It can be done, but it shouldn't be done. Let's call it what it is. So we can, like the Milan is the new fifth place comment, basically. Like, that's it now. Like, you kind of secure top 4. Like, you cannot mess that up anymore. That's basically impossible. And now the Milan one, look at Milan. That's the new look at the 5th place thing you will hear from now on. You shouldn't be worrying about Milan, because I will explain that. If you don't win the title, I don't care if you finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, you lost. Like, you didn't win, If you don't win the title, I don't care where you finish in the top 4. It doesn't mean anything. Like, from now, let's say 50 years from now, I'm not going to remember we finished 2nd. The only things I'm going to remember is we finished 1st, or we had a debacle of a season and we didn't even finish top 4. That's the only 2 things you're going to remember. So if we finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, I couldn't care less, because then it's about progress. Has there been enough progress? If you can finish 4th, 3rd, 4th, and 2nd, and you can be 1 point separated, but you can also be 20 points like last season from the top, or you can be respectable from the top. That's what matters at the end of the day. Yeah, that's it. But the Inter one, the Inter questions, obviously he was going to ask Inter questions because it is, like, I think even the media is like, oh, you're just going to dispatch of Empoli very easy, and then you're just going to move on to Inter. But I hope Allegri, and I don't think Allegri's doing that, but I hope the team and the players not thinking like that. Like, you still need to beat Empoli tomorrow. Like, they're just not going to come to the stadium and just going to lay down for us. He was asked about Miretti because that was kind of a hot topic last week, and I tried to warn everybody that the Miretti one, it was gonna go off, because before the Coppa Italia games it was, we need a signing, loan him out. Then the Coppa Italia games happen, oh, do not sign a player because you're gonna take away minutes from Miretti, and he's playing well. Then the game against the last game, Lecce happened, and it's sell him. He's not good enough. it's just a big flip flop process from, I don't know, from the end of December until now. And I was like, I warned people that was gonna happen. That's why I said we need to sign players. But he obviously, like, he was not gonna throw Miretti under the bus. Like, he didn't even throw Sandro under the bus when he lost us the Supercoppa against Inter, and he literally lost us that game. And Allegri came out and said he was fantastic, and everybody could, like, you messed it up, like, you were not fantastic. So he's gonna defend his players, and he said, "Is he Miretti? Like, all young players need to be allowed to grow, given his limited experience. You must guide him through challenging times, but this year he has already played 15 games and scored a goal. He needs to mature, but it's normal for someone born in 2003." I think he has quite not a lot. Should I say a lot? Like, he has respectable experience. Like, he has been training with the first team. He's playing with the first team. He's been part of what happened last season. That might, that's experience you probably never ever get again or at any club. So he's done all that. The issue now for him is just consistency, because he has good moments and then he has average moments and then he has kind of disaster moments. So that's the big thing for him. Like, finding consistency from now until, I don't know, the end of the season, because then is the decision, the time. Then is when the club will look at it and be like, okay, you're not gonna play. You're or like, you're not gonna play for us. You're gonna leave on loan or all those things. That's when the club will probably come in and say, you were not good enough the last couple of weeks, or like the last couple of months, and that's why we made the decision to move you on. And loan you out, basically. So he has another 5 months. Like, we didn't sign anyone, so he's gonna play quite a lot of games. So that's on Miretti. And then to wrap it up, yeah, he was joking. I know we said that thing about Inter, about what was it, about Sinner and Djokovic? Like, he was messing about. That's what he's just playing mind games now, and he's just trying to see how much he can piss off Inter. That's basically it. I think at one point even Inter will kind of ignore it, because it will be very worrying if they kept reacting to what Allegri had to say. But he said, we didn't even notice that we were quote unquote first. We must not forget that Milan is catching up. We focus on one game a week, and in 3 months anything can happen in football. It takes very little to change things, especially over 38 league games. I don't want to think much about the future. Let's focus on tomorrow's match. The risk of going off track, I don't take the +4 or -4 in the standing into consideration. That's the mindset. They have a game in hand. It's just pressure. You're trying to put pressure on Inter, and that's about it. Like, if you win tomorrow, excuse me, and you go +4, and Inter have 2 games in hand because they still need to play. However, they go to Fiorentina and they don't win. Let's say they draw that game. Now they have a game in hand, but it's level on points ahead of a big game. Like, it's just mental games you need to play. And I think if that's the scenario, I think it will tell a lot about Inter and Inzaghi as well. More than it will tell about us, because we know our limitations. It's all about seeing what Inter will do. Basically, that's the game we're trying to play now. But that's what he had to say in today's presser. This game will be tougher than most believe. Even in this group form, the team will still struggle against the low block. I expect a 2-0 win, but the goals from a pen and a set piece. I will go into my prediction later. And he's saying that's bullshit about not knowing they were first. Yeah, obviously it is. Yeah, like, nobody's believing. Like, I at times don't know how many points. Like, if you ask me on the spot how many points we have, I don't know. I need to lie. I absolutely need to lie. Is it 49? Is it 51? I have no idea how many points we have, because I just know we are 2 points off Inter. Okay, you're 1 point up now, but with a game in hand, you're 2 points off Inter. That's what I have in my mind, and that's what the club should be having in their mind. And that's what they have. They knew they were first. Like, obviously they knew. Like, they're not idiots. Like, he's just taking pressure away. That's what he's That's what he's trying to do. That's not the right one. Um, now let's go into some stats. Some stats about about Empoli. My bad. Because like I said, they're not a good team. They're just not a good team. It's a team we need to beat. Yes, they brought in Davide Nicola, and he knows how to kind of survive in the league. However, they're not a good team. This is a comparison to us. Obviously, they're the green one, which is looks very strange. The possession one is not shocking. I think that's very obvious. But all the rest, like crosses, long balls, fine. That's probably going to be similar to a lot of those teams because of our playing style. But in general, like that's come on. Um, they're bottom of the league basically for a very good reason. They've quite a young squad, I must say. I think his average age is like the same as us, like around 26. So they have a very good young, like they have a very young squad. Excuse me, and maybe that's the issue as well. It's a young squad with not much quality in it, basically, and you can have a young squad, but if the quality's not there, that's just a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. So that's it. I looked at it and like, I watched. Funnily enough, I had that game on against Monza, first half, not the entire game. I had that first half on against Monza, and they were good. But I mean, they got a new coach. You expect some sort of reaction because if the reaction is not going to be there at all, then you have an issue because there's not much time to get out of that current situation. Basically, this is goal scored. Goals scored. I think it's it's telling. Like they do not score a lot of goals. I think that's I don't know how many times everybody watched Empoli. I'm assuming not a lot. I don't think a lot of people do watch Empoli quite a lot, but I think that just screams a lot of things together. And then if you look at this, the first two are probably not going to be there. Like Caputo is out, and Giese is, if you pronounce it like that, is very doubtful for the game apparently, going off the latest updates. So not even those two potentially are going to be there. I know Zorowski scored a hat trick last Sunday. It was, I think, he scored a hat trick, and that's that's good. I guess, but is that gonna be enough um, for for tomorrow? Because he scored 3 goals, but yeah, he has 4 goals on the season. Basically, it's only his second game as well, I think, or like his third game he played. That's also something very strange. Like he scored, it's like our goals post starting from 24. Excuse me, like we scored almost all our goals in a couple of games compared to the last one. That's what Zorowski kind of um, did as well. But yeah, Empoli, like the stats are obvious. Like look at that. Just look at that. Like they're not a good team. Like they barely pick up a point a game. Um, they barely win. Like they barely win games. Like 4 games won. Like it's not a lot. Like that's why you're a relegation side. So I think the stats are very obvious. That's why I didn't really go into depth. If you compare to previous seasons, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean that's obvious. Like it's obvious. I like probably maybe 19 was kind of similar, and you might say 17 and 15, but like they took a big hit. They're not the same team anymore, and they are struggling this season. It's a team with not much quality in it. Usually you have players, even in relegation sides, you look at players and you're like, oh, that player that he has something. Shame that he's playing for that team. But when you look at Empoli, it's not really that. It's not really that for Empoli. Um, Again, on the season, defeats. I mean, I said that goal scored per game. Yeah, like they barely scored. They concede quite a lot. They don't keep clean sheets. They usually concede first. Like it's a team. Like all the stats scream relegation side. So that's why I didn't really go into depth in it because they are they are kind of a relegation side for a good reason. If you look at all those things, even if you look at this, and I picked up goal score. The only thing that wasn't surprised was the counters. The counters, we're 11, they're 16 because we are not good in counterattacking. But I think we kind of established that the last couple of months, years. We're not a good counterattacking team, which is very strange the way we play and with the players we have. But it is what it is. But like non-penalty, like look at the numbers, look at the difference. It's top of the league versus bottom of the league in all aspects, basically. Goals scored, expected goals, they struggle. And I know they scored a hat trick. They bought Seri from Como, I think, last at the start of January. I think it was. They got him from Como. Ex Juve, I think ex Cagliari, whatever. He played as well. Is he gonna move the needle? I don't want to jinx it. You're assuming no. I don't think he's gonna move the needle at all. But yeah, if Empoli get relegated, Fazzini and Baluzani are interested players. Yeah, but I think I don't think we're gonna go in for him. To be honest, they're interested. Di Marzio, was it Di Marzio or was it Pedula? I'm not sure now, but one of the two reported a couple of weeks ago that Balzani was very close to Lazio. No, Roma. Excuse me. He was very close to Roma, but not sure what that's all about because Roma kind of sacked Mourinho, so I'm not sure which direction they're going in now. But yeah, like just in general, Empoli are not a good. Oh, Hanin says Roma, so it's Roma. Empoli are not a good team. They're not a good team, and you need to beat Empoli. Like I can go over so many things, but like I looked at. Usually, I have when I do a preview on a prep a preview. I look at certain stats for the teams, but the difference was so big that it was not interesting to bring all those games in. Like the Inter one is going to be very interesting, but with Empoli, it's man, like it's kind of day and night. It screams top versus bottom. So that's that. Let's go into the lineup or the predicted lineup slash what I think is gonna happen, whatever you want to call it. Let me bring this one up. Let me go. Let me see if it works. Here we go. Yeah, Chesney and goal, standard as well. Bremer at the back, also very standard. And now the question, because Danilo has a yellow card, so if he picks up a yellow card, he is out for Inter. I'll play Danilo because he's gonna play against Inter, and he improved compared to the previous games, but he need to get his best form back, because he is gonna play. So I need him to get his best form back. So I think Danilo is gonna play. Like yes, he's on a yellow card, but you're playing Empoli. Like if you pick up a yellow card at home against Empoli, then that's on you, man. Like, come on. If you're that guy, if you're the captain of the team, you should be smart enough not to pick up a yellow card against Empoli. That's all I need to say about it. And I do believe Allegri's going to pick him tomorrow. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays Alexandro, but it's not fair towards Rogani. That's all I need. That's all I have to say. That's what it is. But I'm not surprised if he plays. If he starts Alexandro tomorrow. Locatelli, obviously, he's going to start Miretti because Allegri said Miretti is going to play. So Miretti in there. I think he's going to play McKennie over here. I think he's going to play Cambiasso over here. Kostic. Oops. Kostic. And then it's very simple because we have nobody else besides obviously Milik, but he spoke about Milik, and I don't think he's going to start Milik tomorrow. That's it. That's what I think is going to happen. Again, do not be shocked if he plays Alexandro over Danilo because Danilo has a yellow card. I don't think that should be an issue for Danilo. If you're that guy, you should be good enough to not pick up a yellow card at home against Empoli. But I think that's what he's gonna do. He talked about Weah, like the way he talked about Weah. I got a feeling he's not gonna play Weah tomorrow. That's just a feeling I had. Kostic, I don't really need to discuss that. I think he's gonna play Kostic most likely. And other than that, Rabiot's injured or he's out. Chiesa's out. Very interesting because apparently Chiesa didn't really train at full force the entire week. So with that in the back of your mind, he's not gonna start against Inter. It's just impossible to be fit against Inter to start that game. So it's gonna be interesting to see Yildiz tomorrow. What type of game he will have, because next Sunday is gonna be massive for Yildiz, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna start that game. I think he should be starting that game because Chiesa is impossible to have a very fit Chiesa for a game. And yes, Chiesa's Chiesa, but if you go away to Inter, you need to have 11 fit players on that pitch and not players who can only play 45 minutes at best. Like, that's not what you do. So I'm very intrigued to see how Yildiz will perform tomorrow. Now let's move on to what I think. Let me get this up. If people know how I do my ratings, what I need tomorrow is I need this from Yildiz. I need his confidence boost ahead of Inter. Kostic 6, I'll take it. But these are the type of perform. Miretti, he needs to bounce back. Locatelli, I want to see his consistency again because he is showing consistency finally, which was his biggest issue ever since he joined, in my opinion. 6 is just a good game, period. Nothing special. You just play your game and, done. That's why I gave 6. But I want to see something from Miretti. I want to see the consistency from Locatelli. Like, that game should be won from Locatelli up to the top. That's like, we shouldn't have massive issues, against Empoli defensively. That cannot be the case. But up top, they need to have a very good game. They need to have a game where they kind of click on all cylinders ahead of the Inter game, because the Inter game, you're probably not going to have a lot of chances in that game. And the few chances that fall to you, you need to bury. So that's what I need tomorrow against Empoli. My prediction, and before I say my prediction, like the video. Let's get to 40 likes. So like the video now. If you're rewatching it, please hit that like button now and subscribe to the channel. My prediction for tomorrow, and I thought about it. First I said 3-0. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm just going to go 2-0 with a goal from Yildiz and one from Vlahovic. Yeah, man, if we don't win tomorrow, it's kind of a disaster. Like, it is a mini disaster because the good feel factor goes kind of out of the window a little bit because you play Inter and you start, like, questions will be asked and you will be a bit doubtful about, man, not the right or the ideal moment to drop points ahead of a big game, especially against a team that's fighting relegation. So that's my expectation for tomorrow. 2-0 with with goals from Yildiz and Vlahovic. Excuse me, yeah. So that's my expectations for tomorrow. Let me know in the comments what your expectation is. Let me bring the chat up again. Here we go. I think Rugani will play instead of Danilo. I think if Danilo is benched, he will play Alexandro. I have a weird feeling about that. If Chiesa is out against Inter, I have a feeling that Allegri will play Milik and Vlahovic from the start. That will be a mistake. But I don't want to talk about Inter now. We will, like, the Inter one is going to be previewed pretty much all week, because I'm recording with Alberto from the All Juve cast Sunday evening, and I will drop parts of that during the week. There will be a preview with him as well. I will have a preview with Anthony from Inter Worldwide as well. I will do my preview myself. I hoping to drop a video on our midfield against how it's stacked compared to Inter midfield, because Hanin asked for it and I'm working on it, but I hope I get it done in time because it's going to be a busy week. So that game is going to be previewed all of next week. It is the biggest game we have had ever since Pirlo joined the club. Yes, we played the Coppa Italia final and we won it, but it wasn't the same. Like, you know how that season was going. Like the feeling is different. Now you're in a potential title race. It is the biggest game of the last I don't know how many years. So we're gonna preview that properly. Hopefully it doesn't end with a disappointment. However, tomorrow you need to beat Empoli. That's non-negotiable. Like you need to beat Empoli and you need to have a good solid performance ahead of that Inter game as well. So that's it. That's my prediction. That's my preview. If you haven't watched the podcast with Julian, 2 parts, those are out. So go check that out as well. And I will be live tomorrow as well. I will do my match reaction, and then around this time tomorrow, I will do a live show because I have some time tomorrow, and we play at 6 o'clock, so that's why I have some time. And then on Sunday, player ratings and a live show with the members to break down. And then from next week, it's all Inter. It's all Inter. Yeah. So subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, and have a good day or night, depending on where you're watching from. See you guys tomorrow, same hour.